let's go to our fun topic, the budget.
As I stated previously, Mike, can you go to page 138? Kristen and I met with the Finance Advisory Council last week. Kristen's done a good job putting this document together under some uncertain conditions, certain times. So we did not receive any comments on the tentative budget, I don't believe. So I'll let Kristen provide a brief summary. And then again, so the board understands what our expectations are. If you have any comments or questions on the tentative budget, we'd ask that you submit them by the June meeting so that the administration can answer your questions or address your concern. But also we would be asking for the board to approve the tentative budget in June. The process of this is that you approve it in June. So there's a tentative budget in place when we officially start the fiscal year July 1. The formal budget is not adopted until September. So we have some time to watch how revenue and expenditures are being impacted by the pandemic, as well as when the state makes any final payments and things like that, any changes in staffing and that impact. So I don't want you to think that we're asking you in the next 2 weeks to make a final decision on the budget. This is something we'll review at the July meeting as well, at the August meeting, and then take formal action on our final budget in September. Kristen?
Yes, Dr. Skinkis covered a lot of what I was going to touch on, but I want to stress that this is certainly a working document, especially under COVID-19. There are a lot of things that will be changing, and each time we present it to the board, there will be changes, and I'll certainly review those with you. I think it's important to note as board members are reviewing the budget, in my personal opinion, the revenue assumptions, the expenditure assumptions, and the summary page are, the important highlights, and we try to put all of the significant items in those 3 pages. Also, you'll notice as you scroll through the budget, there are certainly some items that are highlighted in yellow. Those are things that are definitely going to change, and then certainly other things will change as they become available. For example, CPPRT, or corporate personal property replacement tax, currently we've decreased that by 20% due to COVID-19. That official number gets reduced in August, or gets released in August. So in August, we'll have a more exact estimate of what we think we'll be receiving this year. But you'll see on the revenue assumption page, I tried to outline what things were impacted by COVID-19 so that can help the board as you're reviewing some of this. I also would like to highlight right now, our projected deficit is higher than what I presented in February, and that's certainly due to COVID-19. We lowered our property tax collection rate to 97%, and normally we budget at 99%. So our projected deficit has increased about $340,000 since our projection in February, which brings us currently to a deficit for next year of $979,963. Again, certainly this will change as more information comes available, as we use actuals to kind of look to see exactly where things come in. We use April 30th actuals right now. That gets more exact as we look at May 31st actuals, and then actually the fiscal year actuals in June. So again, this is the first read. I would echo Dr. Skinkis's comments. Please submit as many questions as you'd like before the June board meeting. It's very helpful if I have them in advance, and I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Anyone have a question about that $1 million deficit?
So, this is Deanna. I'll just make a comment on this, that I think Kristen's done a really good job of putting together the start of the budget, considering so many unknowns that are out there. And it's really going to take a lot of diligence to get us over the finish line. $1 million deficit, that's nothing any of us want to be dealing with. It's not something we anticipated. But I think we all need to recognize this, the state of the state of county property taxes, and just the impact that will be, that COVID will have on us moving forward.
As Kristen mentioned, she went just briefly through her assumptions. We had the property tax collection at 97%, and so each percentage point is worth about 250 to 275,000. We traditionally collect closer to 99, sometimes 99.5%. I think our historical has been between 98.5 and 99. So the fact that we're lowering that to 97% will show. I mean, that accounts right there for probably $500,000 of that deficit. And that uncertainty comes because the Cook County has pushed back the August tax collection payment by 2 months. And so you have to anticipate with the impact of COVID-19, not only will you have some delinquent payments, but you'll have some people that won't make those payments at all. We're also going to probably see an increase in property tax appeals, especially for areas from the mall. So we need to be prepared for that. This is very similar to what I was experiencing when I first came to the district in 2011. So we've been through this before. We have some ideas on how we can address it. And so we'll just have to kind of take this 1 month at a time.
So question, Kristen, can we look at how if we change these PE credits, so if you're playing a varsity sport that counts as a PE credit, how does that affect the budget?
It could certainly have an impact on the budget in future years. Since our staffing is already in place for next year, it would not have an impact on the budget next year. I do think there would be financial savings the following year if we can identify what staff needs to be reduced in regards to the wellness department.
And if we did the same comparison to Ms. Orozco's point about taking the graduation credits down to 19.5 versus a 22.
So that would be easier to identify in the process before we have to make staffing decisions, but that would also be something that we would, really be able to look at next year once we decide if that policy were in place. Then students would pick classes, and then we would be able to reduce staffing based off of what students picked. And then at that point, we would be able to identify what the budget impact is. But unfortunately, all the staffing decisions, which is why we stress how important staffing is and why we do it so early, is because those decisions have already been made and we are unable to reduce staff at this point. So all of those things would impact the budget in fiscal year 22.
Are there any other questions on the tentative budget?